As the holidays approach, I want to talk to you today about dealing with difficult people. We all know them, sometimes we are them, and they can completely rock our day if we let them. Today I'm going to talk to you about some ways that I coach people through this and how I help myself not let difficult people ruin my day. When you're dealing with difficult people, it is important to set boundaries. Honestly, when you're dealing with anyone, your boundaries are essentially your rules and how you operate. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of us will say that someone's violating our boundaries because they're being disrespectful, but we don't even know what about that moment is triggering us, but yet we continue to say that they're violating that from us. So we have to be honest and be like, we have to be clear. What are our boundaries? How does the other person know, right? Because I'll be honest with you, there have been times that people have triggered something in me and I found it to be disrespectful, but I couldn't pinpoint it. But I wanted to hold them accountable for their actions. Like, how is that fair? It's not. We really have to look at that opportunity to say, okay, well, there's something that I'm feeling in this moment, and this is triggering a feeling within me. It's triggering a reaction. And I have to be able to observe that and realize that there's something going on and that, in fact, you are the only one who can actually change that. You're the only one who can set that boundary. You have to know what it is. So you have to get clear on your boundaries. Sometimes before you can do that, you have to acknowledge how it's feeling in your body. So if you're feeling tense when someone says a particular phrase or with a tone of voice or what have you, it's up to you to be able to establish that in a clear and calm way. And just because you set the boundary doesn't mean anything unless you're holding them to it. So what does that look like? You know, like if you're at work, is this something that you should bring out in front of a board meeting? Or is this something that you should pull someone aside to deal with? You know, it's completely up to us on how we engage with that person. But we have to set the boundary. So there's something super important for us to know first. So the boundary first starts with you. Yes, you have to understand what the boundary is and what it's going to look like if someone were to in fact cross that boundary. That boundary is only as good as we make it because we have to be extremely clear on what our values are and what our goals are in life. There's nothing more important to us than establishing that first. If we don't know for ourselves what that boundary is, then how can we expect anyone else to uphold it? We often hold resentment because the other person doesn't keep our boundary when we didn't tell them, when we don't even know where that boundary is. Oftentimes when we deal with difficult people, we feel like we are being manipulated. Well, maybe we are, but it's up to us to allow ourselves to be controlled. If you look at Stoicism or you look at Buddhism and other philosophies, it'll tell you that it is up to you to maintain your emotions. Your emotional stability is only up to you. No one can make you feel sad. No one can indeed trigger you, honestly. It may bring up something in you, but it's up to you to actually have a reaction. If you focus on stillness, if you focus on being whole within yourself, then you don't even worry about what they're saying and what they're thinking. Like, that's on them. If they're bothered, there's probably something going on with them that makes them feel like they need to manipulate people. But if you actually allow them to have power over you, you're giving them that control. You cannot be manipulated unless you let it happen. So sometimes, I know for me personally, I need to take a second, I need to get away, I need to go for a walk, I need to get out in nature. Or if I can't do any of that because I'm at work, I will take a second and I will breathe. So when you're dealing with that difficult person, it's important to set that boundary. And part of that is being very clear with your expectations. Know when you're going into that conversation with that person that you're reminding them of a situation that happened and that wasn't okay. Or you're telling them in that real time, this isn't okay. And if this continues, then this is going to be the consequence. So for example, I had a colleague who crossed a boundary with me, and instead of dealing with it in that moment, because I was honestly having a tough day, I stepped away. I finished the conversation, and then I stepped away, and I felt bothered, and I let that get to me, and it bothered me for a few days, which is something that I'm really working on. So I went back to her, and I said, hey, this is a situation that happened. She denied it. And then I said, it definitely happened. And I'm like, there's no way I would make up this whole scenario. You and I both know that. And we engaged in the conversation, and I explained that not only did it cross a professional boundary, but also hurt my feelings. And she's someone who doesn't want to hurt my feelings. So we actually went through, had the conversation, and come the end of it, we're able to get back on regular terms, because normally we get along, but in that moment she was a difficult person for me. It was a difficult situation. People by nature aren't difficult, the situations are. And having boundaries completely change our mental health. We are no longer on guard when people are worried and stressed and taking it out on us, because we know it has nothing to do with us, but has everything to do with them and their situation that they're going through, but we don't have to take it on. So in these moments when you're going through these holidays, you have to remember to take a moment for yourself. If you feel like you're being triggered, try to figure out where is that coming from, where is it stemming from. It's just something that you can share with that person in some way, shape, or form. And you have to determine for yourself what are the boundaries, what's okay, what's not okay. No one can tell you what your boundaries are. It's up to us to set them. So how are you going to adapt dealing with difficult people this holiday season? Comment below on one way that you're going to deal with difficult people. What's one boundary that you're going to set? And I hope you have a happy holiday season. And thanks for joining us. On this channel, we focus on being 1% better each and every day. There is nothing that you can't do. Just take it a little bit at a time. When you're setting those boundaries, remember that it's not going to be perfect the first time, but you're starting it. Thanks.